Hi, I'm Jude. Welcome to Reborn at age 69. I'm so glad you're joining me. This is a brand new vlog series, and I'm just so excited to share not only some amazing experiences I've been through, and I'll tell you the story in a minute about why I named it Reborn at 69, but I also am excited to share so much that I actually learned in my roles in the beauty industry, and also that I disseminated to thousands of consumers just like you, so that women, especially in my age bracket, and I'm sort of thinking women 55 and over, could be and feel their very best and really just feel empowered when they would look in the mirror. Start feeling visible, not invisible. So my mission for this series is really to share and to empower and to uplift and to answer questions and to create a community where we can all sort of ask questions of each other and channel some of our combined knowledge to each other and really move forward on our journey together as a sisterhood. And the first experience I wanted to share with you was this incredible experience I had when I decided to have a breast lift and a breast reduction at age 68. So we had just relocated to Florida from Nevada after I retired, and I had time on my hands. And I said, well, I'm going to call a plastic surgeon and I'm going to talk to them about, do they do breast lifts and breast reductions on women in their late 60s? Is it safe, etc.? So I found someone that had rave reviews on realself.com, which is a great site if you're thinking of having any procedure at all. I found a great plastic surgeon, so read all the reviews, etc. And women were just gushing about his breast reductions. So went and saw him, ultimately had it done. And it was life-changing. Remember, I'm only 5'2", and I'm petite. So I would love to detail what I went through with my breast reduction and breast lift in my third vlog. I'm going to spend this vlog and the next vlog telling you about what I did next. And that was, I decided to go for it and take care of the other plastic surgery that I really knew I needed. And it started with my throat and my jowl area. My throat really needed help. So I started meeting with plastic surgeons. I started interviewing my breast surgeon first because I trusted him, had a relationship with him, knew that he did facelifts as well. And then I met with 3 other plastic surgeons, and we had great conversations. I got quotes from each of them, and they all agreed that I should have a platysmoplasty, which is known as a neck lift, and then they also agreed that I should have a deep plane facelift. Now, one of the 4 surgeons really kind of stood out and distinguished himself because he felt that I should also have a lip lift. This was something that I had been considering. Actually, I had heard about it in a medical spa in Las Vegas and had been toying with the idea for, I don't know, like 5 years maybe. And he was very, very definitive about how he would do it, how he would approach it, and the fact that he was one of the very few surgeons that is trained to do lip lifts. The other 3 actually discouraged me, and so he caught my eye. I was intrigued and impressed. This surgeon is Dr. Jean-Paul Ozzie. Dr. Ozzie was also 1 out of 2 of the 4 surgeons that I interviewed that agreed with me that I should consider a brow lift. Dr. Ozzie, suggested an endoscopic temporal brow lift, and he felt that the endoscopic temporal brow lift would help me address my concerns about the upper part of my face, the downward turn of my eyes, kind of the drooping of my eyebrows. And I knew that this would be, not temporary like Botox, which does give you a lift to your eyebrows, and it would be over time less expensive, of course. So I was definitely interested and I wanted to learn more. So Dr. Ozzie's endoscopic temporal brow lift is much less invasive than the older traditional brow lifts, which would cut all the way across the forehead and way up into the scalp area. It was like major surgery, and you were left potentially with really bad headaches and other side effects. But no, Dr. Ozzie assured me that he would be using an endoscope and a computer, making minimal hair incisions by the hairline, but not in the hair, so there is no hair loss. And in the end, he assured me that he could give me a really beautiful, really elegant lift that would leave my whole face looking more youthful. And who doesn't want that? Especially at 69. So in fact, Dr. Ozzie is one of very few plastic surgeons nationwide to conduct his facial plastic surgery procedures under local anesthesia. And he cites 3 key reasons that he just doesn't think general anesthesia is necessary. And this just is so fascinating to me, and I know to many of you, because when I was doing my research, I didn't even come upon the fact that I could get all of this done without going under general anesthesia. But let me detail out the 3 reasons that Dr. A just doesn't believe in using general anesthesia for his facial plastic surgery. Number 1, he thinks that using general anesthesia is truly unnecessary. Most plastic surgeons, he feels, put you under because it's a struggle. They may struggle with some of the parts of the surgery, and they really don't want the patient to be aware. Number 2, he feels that the use of general anesthesia introduces unnecessary risk into procedures that shouldn't be risky because they're elective. And number 3, Dr. A believes that using general anesthesia can actually create physiologic changes in the body, and this can impact your recovery time. You can have a much longer recovery time. It can impact your bleeding. It can create nausea and vomiting. All of this is very risky, and actually he just doesn't feel it's necessary. I agree. Why would we put ourselves through that and all of those potential risks if we didn't need to? Instead, Dr. Ozzie gives you a pill to relax you, Valium. You take it orally, and then he injects you with numbing agents so that as he performs the procedure, the patient feels nothing. They have no sensation at all that he is performing that procedure, which is pretty cool. And in regards to the numbing injections, he said they're not going to be any more uncomfortable than Botox, a Botox injection, or Xeomin, which is the alternative to Botox. So if any of you have had that, I mean, that's really as uncomfortable as the injectable part of the procedure would be, and then it would be over in seconds. So after I had interviewed Dr. Jean-Paul Ozzie, I said I would get back to them, and I realized I had interviewed 4 great surgeons, And I really had to make a decision as to who I was going to go with. I asked my husband for input. He said, it's really up to you. You're the patient. He was no help. So I had a deep kind of soul-searching conversation with myself, and I asked which of the doctors had checked most of my boxes. And I'm not going to lie, I mean, they were all fantastic. They all had glowing reviews. I looked at their work. I watched videos from actual patients. I read everything written about each of them. But Dr. Jean-Paul Azy really stood above the rest for many reasons, and I decided to go with him. When it comes down to it, for me, there were 6 key reasons that I used to choose to select my plastic surgeon. I'm going to share them because many have asked me, well, how did you pick your doctor? And I was very deliberate about it, that these were my reasons. The first is, and the most important, his training and expertise. He is a double board certified facial plastic surgeon. His training and his experience is focused on facial plastic surgery. He's an expert in facial plastic surgery. He doesn't do boobs, butts, arms. He doesn't do the rest of the body. He is an expert, an artiste in facial plastic surgery, and that's what you want. The second reason that I went with Dr. A was he and I were really aligned. I knew that he was going to give me what I really wanted, especially the lip lift and the temporal eyebrow lift. I knew that those 2 things would really make a big difference, and the other plastic surgeons had kind of poo-pooed the lip lift. They were not for it. I don't think they were trained in it, and really there was only 1 out of the 4 that agreed with my desire to have the temporal eyebrow lift. When you're in alignment with your doctor, that's a sign. So I went with that. The third reason that I chose Dr. A was his methodology. There's no getting around that he doesn't utilize general anesthesia. Having to take several Valiums and being able to just sleep through it, not feel anything, and then when you wake up, you don't have to go to a hospital overnight, you don't need nursing care, you don't have drains, which a lot of plastic surgeons do use. And also in regards to your quote, in all the other quotes, there were surgery center costs, there were anesthesiologist costs, not with Dr. Azy. There was just a quote for his work, no one else's work. So that's a really big deal, at least it was to me. The next reason was what people call bedside manner. Dr. Azy was very friendly. He is very down to earth. He's not authoritative or dictatorial. He's not bossy. He gives you a nice degree of attention, but he's not, too much fussing over you, which can come across as insincere. He's very honest. He seems very candid, but he's very focused. So I really just dug his personality, I guess you could say. And that made a really big difference with me on a kind of a personal and an intuitive level. The next reason that I chose Dr. A was price. Very important. For some people, that might be number 2 reason for picking a surgeon. But while Dr. Azy did end up being my highest quote, he also was doing more than the other doctors had agreed to do. I took that into account. His quotes still fell within my budget, and I was delighted to see that I could afford to use him. So the 6th reason, the last here in this lineup, but not necessarily the last in my mind, were how his reviews panned out. I'm an avid reader of reviews, and when I shop, I read everyone's reviews on anything that I buy, and I use that same method to approach shopping for a surgeon. His reviews were inspirational. These people loved him. I mean, there was so much obvious love, affection, and respect for this doctor. I was just simply blown away. So I think it's really important to read what real life patients think about a physician that you're considering using. I think it really gives you that final kind of dose of reality. And so I did my homework, loved his reviews. They lined up with my perception of him from the consultation. And because everything seemed consistent with my perspective and the reviewers' perspectives, I decided I can trust this man. And those are the reasons why I selected him to be the doctor that performed my 5 procedures. A deep plane facelift, a platysmoplasty, which was the neck and jowl lift, the temporal brow lift, the lip lift, a revision to a prior upper eyelid bleph. I just needed a little tweaking, so I added that in, and those were the 5 procedures that I had done on February 17th, 2023. Prepping for the big day was so much easier than getting ready for my breast reduction because I didn't have to go through any lab tests. I didn't have to have an EKG. I didn't have to get a medical approval. And I'm very healthy, so for me, it was just more convenient, but it really wasn't anything more than that. But I think that is an important factor for many women that want to get a facelift, but they're not sure that they can get medically approved. With someone like Dr. Ozzy, where you don't have to go through general anesthesia, that takes that all off of the table. So that's an important consideration. They did require that we start taking the vitamin C. You have to take 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day, and that was easy for me because I already take 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C per day. We have to avoid anything that has the potential to thin the blood too much. So ibuprofen, Advil, medications that have aspirin in them, vitamin E, any of those blood thinning types of medications, you actually cannot use them for 2 weeks prior to your procedure. You also need to stop taking any of your herbal supplements. That was difficult for me because I take many supplements every day, but I anticipated it, knew it was coming, and sort of weaned myself off of my supplements. You're taking them for 2 weeks prior, and you have to wait about 2 weeks after to start taking them again. And also they wanted us to take arnica capsules. They wanted the capsules ingested several times per day, and that gets your blood prepared for less clotting and less bruising after the procedure. I also was asked to take an antibiotic starting the night before the procedure, so I took my first one then, took another one in the morning on the way to the doctor's office, also took a Valium at his request on the way to the doctor's office, and then once I got there, they had me take a few more, so it was nice and relaxed, sleepy. They tell me I slept through the whole thing. I wasn't really sure. Sometimes you have a sensation that you're not sleeping, and you really are sleeping. I was out, and those Valium, they worked. Around a year and a half prior to my facelift, right around the time I retired and we relocated, I don't know whether it was because I was walking across a bridge in a lot of sunlight over water every day, or whether it was just an accumulation of genetics and my time had come. I noticed that my face really fell. When I look at the pictures of my face the last year that I worked and prior to moving, and then look at my face about 9 months into our move to Florida, with obviously I was now living in a lot of UV light, I noticed some really big changes, and it really progressed rapidly till the day that I had my facelift. So those of you that are watching this that know me and worked with me, you may be a little bit surprised as to what I look like the night before my facelift in my bathroom. And I was surprised when I actually looked at those pictures, because we never see ourselves the way we really are. We sort of still see ourselves a little bit through the lens of 10 years prior, 20 years prior, just like we always feel like we're 25 on the inside, or maybe 30. So I really hadn't noticed that my face had fallen as much as it had. When I talked to Dr. A about it, he said that it's largely determined by genetics and then supported by lifestyle and health. I'm in great overall health, but my lifestyle once I got to Florida was definitely more impacted by UV light. I walk a lot. I was walking across water and bridges daily. I walk 20 to 30 miles a week, and I just was in a lot of light. So who knows? I'm wearing hats always from this point on, especially since my surgery. However, I was wearing hats when we moved here. I still don't lay out in the sun. I wear sunscreen. Be it as it may, my face fell. And so I just really wanted to make that point and have you see the befores, so that when we start looking at the afters post-surgery, you'll be able to have a discerning eye and see the changes. Okay, so the big day finally arrived, February 17th, 2023. Got up at the crack of dawn, it was still dark out, and they encouraged me to have breakfast because I was taking an antibiotic and would be taking my Valiums. So I had some oatmeal, and we got in the car, we were driving there. I had a great sense of peace. I was very excited, my husband was very excited, and I took a Valium just shortly before our arrival, which was what they had encouraged me to do. And then when I got there, the nurse assistant immediately had me take several more Valium. So by that point, I was very relaxed and I was very tired. They had encouraged me not to get a lot of sleep the night before so that the Valium could take effect easier. The funny thing was, I never took Valium ever prior to this experience. I'm not a big medications person. I avoid meds if I can. So popping the Valium was kind of funny for me. It was a new experience, and they relaxed me and calmed me, I guess, and told me that it would be okay to take several. So I did, and that did cause me to sleep very soundly during the procedure. But I do remember Dr. Ozzy marking me up. I do remember having him mark my throat area, my upper lip area, and some parts of my forehead, my brow area. And they tucked me in, they got me comfortable in the surgery chair, went to sleep, and I did feel some of the injections, the numbing injections, and they did feel kind of like Botox injections, which tend to burn just a little bit, but nothing intolerable. And that was it. I slept through it. At one point, I did awaken towards the end, and they were just about done, and I had to use the restroom. And so when I went to the restroom, I remember I looked in the mirror, and I was shocked by how young I looked. I could see the future me because there was no swelling. Swelling and bruising doesn't set in for 24 to 48 hours. So I could see what I was going to look like, and I sort of took a snapshot in my head. And I went out and I said to them, oh my gosh, I look so amazing. I look like, a younger woman. And I was just overjoyed. And I felt very, very relaxed and confident. And I knew that everything was going to be amazing. And I also sort of felt in my mind that it was a miracle just really a miracle. Like immediately I could tell that I was turning back many, many years, and turning back the hands of time, like literally in front of my eyes. And I remember the nurse saying to me, "Oh my gosh, you're having an incredible outcome. You're going to be so excited. You're going to look like you're in your 40s. And I remember that as like a defining moment, because even though I was tired, I wasn't that tired anymore. I was waking up, and I said to her, "Nah, you're kidding me. I'm 69. I'm turning 70 this year in November." And she said, "No, no, 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 no. You're going to look like you're in your 40s. You might look like you're 40. And I was very excited but skeptical. Couldn't believe it. And that was it. And then my husband took me home, and I proceeded to start my recovery. As week 1 flew by, I began to feel a lot better in terms of less stiffness, less soreness. However, I would say day 5, according to my pictures, tended to be the worst. I saw a lot of new bruising. I was pretty swollen. My eyes were very swollen, but I felt better. I just looked worse. The doctor encouraged me to get up and walk around a little bit in the house after about day 3, but to kind of hold off on walking in the street and walking around the community or power walking or vigorously exercising, not to do that until at least week 3. And I was given the approval to start walking after week 3. And when I did that, I immediately started wearing my sunscreen every waking hour of the day. Dermatology makes a really great sunscreen. It's a universal tinted moisturizer, SPF 46, completely physical UVA, UVB with the zinc oxide, which is what you want. You want a physical SPF based product when you go out for the first year, and any type of direct sunlight, you need to be protected with a zinc oxide, titanium dioxide based sunscreen. So I love this because it gives me a golden glow. It's one shade. It works for all skin tones. It's just a remarkable product. This goes on smooth. It blurs your pores, and there is no whitening effect from the physical sunscreen that's in it. After about a month, I started adding on a foundation with an SPF 50 physical sunscreen, zinc oxide, titanium dioxide in it, with lots of great skincare ingredients, which by the way is the same for dermatology's tinted moisturizer. This is CC Cream by IT Cosmetics. It's the company that I worked for prior to retiring. It's part of L'Oreal. It's a wonderful foundation, and I put it on. I use the tinted moisturizer by Dermatology, almost like a moisturizer, especially on extremely hot days in Florida, hot and humid days. Sometimes I'll put my anti-aging moisturizer on before my sunscreen, but you don't have to, because this is a moisturizer and a tinted sunscreen. And then I put my foundation on over that, and I get this beautiful golden glow. This combination and a great hat has been my panacea. It's been fantastic. And of course, my hat collection is growing by the week. Aside from wearing the head wrap for the first 5 days, 24 hours a day, and then just continuing to wear it at night for a week or two, and aside from having to sleep on a bunch of pillows and sort of sleep upright for a while and not sleep on your side, those were small sacrifices in my mind for really starting to look so great. I'd love for you to sit back and enjoy seeing a composite of some of the changes during the first 8 weeks post-surgery. Thank you for watching, and I invite you to join me for my Miracle Facelift Part 2, where we will look at the evolution of my healing during months 3 and 4. We will also discuss scars and pricing. So with that said, I look forward to having you join me in Part 2 of my Miracle Facelift, and take care, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and follow me. And again, I thank you for your viewership. It means the world to me. Bye-bye.